When I met you, you told me your story of how you got into property.
We had equity in the house, and not really knowing that we could put money to use. I didn't really know about further advances equity, making your money work hard. This was like a really strange phenomenon because I've always worked for money.
Where do you see yourself financially in 5 years?
What we're doing now is we're sort of pivoting, I wouldn't say away from, but we've got a portfolio of the properties and they're ticking over and they're doing well, touch wood, to begin with. I mean, I know there are other things you can invest in. I know that you can invest in stocks, shares. I know some people do crypto. We've dabbled in that as well.
Welcome, I'm Tracy Irwin and I'm passionate about financial independence for everybody. And I wanted to share stories of inspiring entrepreneurs to prove it's possible for everybody. Today, I'm talking with Steph Batey. Now, I met Steph at an event a couple of years ago and her story inspired me, and I asked her specially to be one of my first guests. She's the property teacher, she's a property investor, developer, and mentor. She's also a writer, editor, speaker, and entrepreneur. So she's a very, very busy lady. So, welcome, Steph.
Thank you. No ADHD there. All of those different things. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate
No,
it.
you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. So, first question, just to get us into the financial independence stuff. Just tell us, like, when I met you, you told me your story of how you got into property investing. So, can you tell a little bit about your story, please?
Yeah, sure. So we bought this house that I'm in now in 2016. This was our first house. We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. It's a no, go hard or go home, 5 bed detached with extra land and a 2-story outhouse.
Wow.
So it's a big project. We didn't think we'd have to do as much work as we did. In the end, it turned into like a 2.5 year project. So we were doing a lot of the work ourselves. We took it right back to brick, to the point where, and we took floors out and everything. So it was just literally a shell. And we, with the help of my partner's dad and, some of our friends who were in the trades, we renovated the property, added masses of value to it without even really knowing that that's what we were doing. And then we thought we could do this again. Like, we'll forget that we were stressed and that we didn't have a weekend away, or, for like 2.5 years, we nearly died. We'll just forget that and we'll do it again. And so we did, but it was just coincidental at the time. I saw a Facebook ad pop up, not really understanding algorithms. And it was a free seminar on how to make money from property. And we thought, oh, well, how hard can it be? Anyway, so we go to this free seminar. We got upsold into £1,000 course for the weekend, which isn't too bad, really. And then we paid another 25, then another 5. And before you know it, we're 30 odd grand into this education. But we were really fortunate. I never say lucky because I think we've worked really hard, that we managed to raise finance. So
Okay.
we've used other people's money. That includes the bank's money, because I only had 2.5 grand, if that, I think, in the bank at the time. Yeah, if that. And we had equity in the house, and not really knowing that we could put money to use. I didn't really know about further advances equity, making your money work hard. This was like a really strange phenomenon because I've always worked for money. Anyway, so we raised money, we took equity out of the house, we used investors' money, and then we just went from there, got educated, paid far too much for this education. It wasn't worth it, but it is what it is. And yeah, we've built a nice little portfolio. And then 3 years ago, I sacked my boss and I quit my job. So touch wood, and it's going all right for now. but property is not for the faint-hearted. That's for
When,
sure.
when you when you sacked your boss and quit your job at the same time, how did you feel about money? Did you feel like were you worried about the future? Did you already feel like financially independent, or was there times where you were struggling to kind of like mentally to feel secure?
Mentally, yes, because on paper we are very, very secure, but I didn't grow up with money at all.
Okay.
I grew up in a single parent family, in a poverty. I didn't grow up in poverty, but the area I grew up in was quite poverty stricken. Single parent family, lots of help from a nan and granddad, but we've had that scarce mindset. I've had that scarce mindset my whole life. Like, I've got to work really hard for money. Where's all this money coming from? I've got to save it. I've got to retain this money because I might never get it again. So even though on paper I'm a millionaire,
Yeah.
like, it's different. People look and think, oh, she must have loads of money because she's got loads of properties. It doesn't quite work like that because you're asset rich, not
Yeah.
always cash rich. But I'm like, but actually, I could now sell all of those houses and we could live very comfortably for the rest of our lives. That's not to say that I never have to work because I do, and I'm always building something. But yeah, mentally, and even now, I'm the first person to say it's a mindset. There's money everywhere. There's that much money out there. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to reframe the language in my head and be like, Steph, you're all right. Like, look at what you've done. Look at what we've achieved. Look at what we've got. And that's it's crackers because when you grow up thinking you've got to work really hard and you've got to keep all of your money, only to learn, well, it's losing money just being in the bank. It's a hard shift. But yeah, it was scary. God, I've been in school literally my whole life, literally. So
You
it
did
was,
because you were a
yeah,
teacher, weren't you? That you
yeah,
were.
yeah,
So
literally my whole life in school and working for money, not understanding mortgages. No, and this is shocking because I'm highly educated. And but I left school knowing the parts of a plant cell. I didn't know how to work credit or what
I
a
think
credit
that's it.
card was, or my mum never taught me this either. So,
There is
my
this,
mum was
there
in
is a
debt.
massive gap, isn't there, in our
Mm.
financial education that we're still teaching our children to work hard and get a job,
Yeah,
where many of these jobs aren't going to be available once they leave school. They're not going to exist anymore. And we should be teaching them, and this is a whole different subject, but we should be
yeah,
teaching them about life skills, like what you've just said about not understanding a credit card, not understanding a mortgage. Like financial education is we have to find it for ourselves, I think. And I feel
yeah.
that the more people talk about money and money mindset, the better education people can have. So thank you again for coming on board. So what do you do when you have those times where you are a little bit worried? Because like I understand, being asset rich and cash rich are two totally different things.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you take yourself back to? How do you cope with the mindset when you're worried about the scarcity?
I try to remember to deal with the facts, because the facts are I've always been able to make money. Like these are the facts. I've always been able to make money working for it. So if the proverbial hit the fan, I'd always be employable. So that's okay. So that's me. That's me. Getting a job is my fallback.
Yeah.
It never used to be, but it is my fallback. But then I just look at the facts and I try and take the emotion out of it. And I think with the mindset I've got, and I do have ADHD, I was diagnosed 8 months ago. I do tend to sometimes I can catastrophize things. But I just have to look at the facts and be like, oh, hang on a minute. We've got these properties, we've got this much equity, we've got this much cash flow, we've got other business ventures as well. We invest passively in property as well. So we
Okay.
don't always own the property, but we invest with other people who are doing deals and so on. So we make a lot of income through interest as well, not just by directly owning the property. So I look at the facts and I go, actually, I'm okay. But we've got to remember, and as much as some other people might disagree, the world runs on money. We've just got to find the ways to make it and make it work for us. And I think if you're constantly looking to work for money, if you're constantly like, oh my God, where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? You enter into this scarcity sort of zone. Whereas when you start thinking in abundance, you go, right, okay, well, how do I make this money or how do I make it work for me? And it all just seems to come and flow. And honestly, when you're in that mindset, it's a law. Believe in the law of attraction. I never used to. And when I
Yeah.
was a teacher, I'd never even heard of it, but it comes
Okay.
to you. So you look at the facts and you go, right, okay, I've always made money. I can always continue to make money. And you know what? If it all hit the fan, I'd just sell everything. So I've got
Isn't that-
security. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
nice,
is
but
security,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that what you said about how to make it. So I have the mindset of, I mean, I never buy on price. If I want something, my first thought in my head is, how do I make that money so that I can
Yeah.
have that? Not, can I afford it? That never crosses my
Yeah.
mind,
No.
and it's kind of like, what do I need to do so that I can have that thing that I
Yeah.
want? I'm not materialistic, by the way. It's usually like a memory of some kind. I'm not materialistic at all, but that mindset really helps when you're not looking, do I have to take a loan? Can I afford this? It's kind of like, what investment do I have to make? Time,
Yeah.
money, whatever it is. So yeah, so how did you go from being a property investor yourself to teaching others how to do it?
Oh, people just ask me. It never occurred to me. Well, I always knew that no matter what I did, once I retire from teaching, I would still do something that educates because I love it. And you know what? I'm good at it as well. I'm good at teaching. So people were noticing the success. They were noticing we got another property, another property, another property. And people were saying, how do you do that? Or how do you give your investors 10% return? Like the banks don't do that. I'm like, because we know what we're doing. And, everything's risky, but risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And we had people saying to us, can we sit down for a coffee? Oh, go pick your brains. And I was thinking, yeah, because advice that I give in property is risky. If I could give you one piece of advice and you could go away and make a terrible decision and blame me. So if I'm going to sit and give people advice, I need to make sure I'm insured. I
Yeah.
need to have a curriculum, and I need to do it properly. With the caveat, I'm not a financial advisor or legal advisor and so on. So it came from demand, really. About 5.5 years ago, people just started saying, can you help me? And I thought, well, I'll put a program together because
That's
that's
really
just what I do. I write curriculums. So I'm pretty sure I could do something for beginners. And then, yeah, 5.5 years later, we have different offerings. I mean, it's not the main source of income,
no.
like a lot of property education companies. It's just a side arm of the business, but I absolutely love it. But yeah, it came from people asking us, how do you do it? And especially when I quit my job, people were just like, especially teachers who are desperate to get out of the profession,
Right,
but they
okay.
don't know how to because they're trapped and they're stuck with this, job and salary. They're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, yeah, hard work, sacrifice, rest, no sleep. But I don't have children either, so I've naturally got a little bit more time than most people at my age who want a career pivot, but they also have the time with children to think about as well. So it's different there.
So thinking about like the journey that you've taken, if you could go back to Stephanie as a teenager, like what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself about money?
I would say, oh God, that's like a can of worms question, Trace. That's really interesting because I'm actually putting together a keynote for schools.
Okay.
That's so interesting. So one of the
Oh,
things
that's
that I've put in
interesting.
there is that money there is money. One of the things I would say is that there's so much money out there. What you want to earn is limitless.
Yeah.
You don't have to be capped by a salary because that was always my goal in life was to follow that system that has failed so many of us. We go to school. I mean, it didn't fail me as such, but go to school, get the grades, get a good job, find someone to pay me and get a good pension. But that was never enough for the life that I want. And don't get me wrong, I'm not materialistic. I'm not spending 20 grand on a holiday or anything like that. It's more having the time, but it's still not giving me the lifestyle that I wanted at the time. So I would say that a job and a salary is one way of getting money, and it's a good way to experience people and life and the way the world works. But you can actually, if you want to be a millionaire. That
Yeah.
like, and but that concept to me, I grew up in a two up, two down council house. Nothing wrong. Well, there was something wrong with our house, got knocked down because it was unfit for human habitation, and we had to get relocated. So to be fair, there was something wrong with the house, but nothing wrong with anyone from these backgrounds at all. But when you grow up around people with no money, you think, right, well, like my way out of this is to get a really good job. But I
Yeah.
had no one in my life that was an entrepreneur. My role models were my teachers. I became a teacher. So younger people, what I would say to me is, if you want to live a life in abundance where you can do what you want, you can do it. You just have to find a way to make that money and then make it work for you.
Are you working harder than ever, but feeling like you're getting nowhere? You're not alone. Most business owners I speak to feel trapped in their own success, working 60 hours plus a week, missing family time, And honestly, they're not even sure why they feel so stuck. They just know something needs to change. If this sounds familiar, I've created a quick quiz to help you find out why you feel stuck in your business. It takes only 2 minutes and I give you clarity on exactly what's keeping you trapped and, more importantly, how to break free. The link's in the description, so why not take it now? I think a lot of it is who you hang around with.
Yeah.
Like that was a really interesting point. And like I come from a deprived part of the country as well. And what you see is in the children, like they see their parents not working and
Yeah.
they don't have any aspirations. They don't know what to look for. Whereas my stepdad, he was got rheumatoid arthritis when he was 30 years old, and he retrained. He became an accountant and he worked every day, even though how much pain he was in. And I think having him as an inspiration to, and like, I still do it now, by the way, because
Yeah.
I can catastrophize things for the
Yeah.
with the best of you. Honestly, it's like I'd be a drama queen, but then I draw a line under it and I move on. But I have to be that drama queen first.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think to myself, look what Pete did. Like, look
Yeah.
what your dad did. It's not, this isn't that bad, Tracy,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like having that inspirational people around you. And if you don't have that, and I think that's why it's so important that we teach it in schools, because
Yeah.
I think there's so many kids don't have that. But it is about that. It's like finding the right people. Like you're right, money's in abundance, and the ocean doesn't care whether you go to it with a teaspoon or you go to it with a wheelbarrow. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
doesn't care. There is enough in there
There's
for
enough.
everybody.
Yeah.
And it's your choice. And I think that's really, really good advice of like just having that mindset. So, where do you see yourself financially in 5 years?
Oh, good question. If you'd have asked me that when we first started property, I'd be like, I'll be living in the Bahamas on a round the world cruise. But financially, I don't know. What we're doing now is we're sort of pivoting, I wouldn't say away from, but we've got a portfolio of the properties and they're ticking over and they're doing well, touch wood. And we've got plenty of mitigation buffer and so on in them. So they're nice and safe. But what we're learning to do now, we're working with somebody to basically do deals where our money doubles. So turning 300 into 600 rather than 300K into a property where we might make 30, 40K return.
You be
We want,
more transactional with your like properties rather than
yeah.
just, yeah, okay.
Yeah, even I mean, I would say one of the go-tos for a lot of people to build the capital, because that's what I ultimately want to do, build the capital. A lot of people flip the properties, so buy, refurb, and sell it on. We're looking to maybe do those sorts of deals, but not necessarily with houses, but for care providers. So we're working with somebody at the moment who's building out a care home, for example, for 5 children down in Kent. That's a massive development, a massive house, massive development. It's a detached house. But these are the kinds of deals where you could put sort of 500,000, 600,000 in and double your money. But there's a lot. I mean, sometimes you could even put 1 million in and maybe get 3 or 4 out. But these are the sorts of things that we want to do now. So in 5 years' time, I don't know, but I know that I will be continuing to do different deals and making more money. The 10-year plan is to reach sort of 5 to 6 million in liquid, so that we call that our play money, which is nice. And then we can start to do other things with it as well. As I say, we don't just buy property anymore, we invest with other people who buy it, because it can be hard work, so it's nice to just earn money for nothing. So yeah, investing with other property investors who are at the beginning of the journey, I'd like to do that, and give them to get a return, but also give them a boost. And yeah, I want to be sort of 5, 6 million liquid, and I want to be able to lease a yacht.
Your business is successful. So why do you feel so miserable? Here's the thing. Success doesn't automatically equal freedom. I see profitable business owners every day who can't take a holiday, can't switch off, and feel completely overwhelmed by their own achievements. Sound familiar? I've created a simple quiz that pinpoints exactly why you feel stuck in your business. And it's called Why Do You Feel Stuck in Your Business? And it'll give you the clarity you need to move from being trapped to free. Why don't I take the quiz now? The link is in the description below. Oh,
Not buy
nice.
one. I wouldn't buy one, it's depreciating, but I'd like to be able to lease one on a higher purchase or whatever and do more traveling, I suppose. And maybe have a
Yeah.
dog charity. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that's a nice idea too. So do you ever see yourself stopping work? Do you see that? Or
No.
yeah, it's just,
No, people ask me that, Tracy. So people say, "Oh, you're financially free. Why don't you just stop?" And I'm like, they see on social media I look really busy, but what they don't know is that sometimes I could just sit and watch like Vampire Diaries on Netflix all day, And I'm like, I look at my social media, all my content's mostly scheduled. I'm like, oh, I'm viewing a house today. I don't even remember scheduling it, or my VA schedules it. But then some days I am really busy, so I think I have to stop. I have to have a break, and I've earned that. But in the same breath, no, I think it would be very, very boring. I think I'd get so bored. I like projects. I like progress. I like moving forward with things, and I think I would be, yeah, very, very bored. Exceptionally bored. So no, I don't think I'll ever. When you say stop, I mean, even if I stopped building the businesses, because we've got other things that we do as well. It's not just property or property education. Um, I'd probably be traveling. I'd be in refurbing like part of the house. We'd be converting a camper van. Like we'd have a project of
you'd have a
sorts. Yeah.
project to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
On your journey, have you ever made a mistake and like with the
Yeah.
money and stuff? And how did you cope with that? And what did you do to change it around?
Yeah, we have made, I would say mistakes, but you try and mitigate everything and you have exit strategies. So one of the things that we did was we bought a bungalow. Now everyone in property says bungalows are like gold dust, they're the unicorns. Everyone wants a bungalow, it'll sell. And I actually wrote about this in my book, Women in Property, which is a series of different women's stories. And I repeated throughout, everyone says, buy a bungalow, it'll sell, it'll sell. Anyway, the red flags were there. It took a year to get the keys to the property because halfway through the conveyancing with the solicitor, it turned out that the woman hadn't even been granted probate. So we had to wait another 6 months. Oh, it was a nightmare. So another 6 months. But in that time, other property opportunities were coming along. This was quite early days. I would say this was I'll go a few years ago now. Other properties were coming along, and I was like, but I've got to keep my money for this property, like whatever. So we missed a lot of opportunities because I was holding out for this bungalow that was like rock and horse poo. Anyway, we bought it, but because we'd waited a year, it had got damp, the garden, it's ex-council good solid stock properties, and sometimes the gardens are massive,
Yeah.
but the garden, this massive garden, massively overgrown. So you're talking a couple of grand there. So we get the keys, we're still intending to flip it. But at this point, I didn't want it. I listened to somebody else in property who said, just put it straight back in the auction and see what happens. Didn't sell. So I've got legal fees I've incurred there just for putting it in auction. Get the refurb, get someone to quote. They're VAT registered. That's only beneficial if I'm VAT registered. This company isn't VAT, that I bought the property in isn't VAT registered. But they said they would do a quicker refurb. They didn't. It took ages. The plaster was like wavy. Then we had a neighbour from over the road crash her car into the fence. We had a builder put something through the ground. It burst a water pipe. Then we had another leak. The water board had to come out. We had, and this is in the northeast where the weather's biblical. We had ridge tiles fall off the roof. It was an absolute nightmare. So we stuck it on the market to sell, and we were like, if we're not even going to break even here because we've gone well over on the refurb, things we couldn't have foreseen. Nightmare. Anyway, didn't get what we wanted for it. So there's more months wasted because the longer it takes to sell, the more money it's costing you.
Yeah.
And we bought this on bridging finance. We got 100% loan because we used another house to secure against it, which is
Okay.
really clever and creative. With one part of investor money, we managed to buy like 4 houses. But that's another thing that's quite clever. I was chuffed with that. Anyway, we ended up renting it out in the end. So by the time I'd refinanced it, which was on the 12th hour, we nearly went over on the 12-month bridging loan and got penalties and everything. We refinanced it. stuck it on a buy-to-let mortgage and got it rented. Now it's fine. It's cash flowing. It gives me a 10% return on my money. Most
Okay.
people would be happy with that. But I know I can invest that 10% with somebody else and do nothing. It
Yeah.
was a headache. Now I've got 40, this is one of the ones I'm selling. I've got £40,000 stuck in that property.
Right. Okay.
40,000. And I'm like, I don't even want to leave £10,000 in a property because I want the money to be out and working back into something else for me. So yeah, that was a so we've had that stuck in now for a good few years, but I'm selling it now. So
But
yeah,
you
I would say
the
that
back
was
of
a
it.
mistake. I'd be glad to see the back of it. It was a massive, we should never have bought it. But this is the importance of having exit strategies. The exit strategy here was I know that will rent.
Yeah.
So that was the difference. But yeah, and another mistake is investing in people that I hadn't done my due diligence on. You know,
Okay.
we spent a lot of money on property education and mentorship, and the person who did our mentorship with this company that's now gone bust wasn't basically didn't really know, wasn't a very good mentor. She advised us terribly.
Okay.
So when we look back and we think about the advice that we were given from this professional, it was terrible advice that we followed because we paid for this advice and we trusted it. And this person basically, if we'd have listened to everything, we would have been financially ruined.
Wow.
So the lesson there is that something that went wrong for us was listening to the wrong person. But thankfully, we've got half a brain, so we managed to
Do
do
you
some.
do you remember that as well when you're advising other people? Is that always conscious to you
Yeah.
that of what you've been through and that what
Yeah.
you're giving advice to other people? Your business is successful, so why do you feel so miserable? Here's the thing, success doesn't always automatically equal freedom. I see profitable business owners every day who can't take a holiday, who can't switch off, and they feel completely overwhelmed by their own achievements. Sound familiar? Well, I've created a simple quiz that pinpoints exactly why you feel stuck in your business. It will give you the clarity you need to move from being trapped to being free. Why don't you take the quiz now? The link's in the description below.
Yeah, definitely. I think people sign T's and C's or tick the box of the T's and C's and it says, very explicitly, I'm not qualified to give you financial advice. I'm not regulated by the FCA. I'm not qualified to give you legal advice. You cannot sue me for any of this. But it's pretty bread and butter stuff that I'm teaching. It's things that we've done plenty of transactions on. And, I take it very, very seriously because I think if somebody's paying me, they need to get a good return on that invest because it is an investment. They need to get a good return on that. They need to be able to go out and buy properties confidently and safely, mitigating all of that risk and having exit strategies in place, making sure that they account where they can for every single penny. You can't always do that, but we do it as best as we can. And we just have a solutions mindset. So it is always in the back of my mind. It's a very responsible job advising somebody on how to purchase a property. I think it's very, very responsible and I take it very seriously. So it is in the back of my mind because I think this is a financial decision that they are making based on what I'm telling them.
Yeah,
But I
true.
always say you have to decide for yourself because they're grown adults at the end of the day. So it is on them to take a
Yeah.
certain level of responsibility, definitely.
If there's an entrepreneur watching this who's struggling and they're stuck and they're like working more hours and not getting enough money, what advice would you give to them about getting out of being stuck and going into finding that the investments and things to be able to help them to be financially independent?
It depends really what they're stuck on. I would say, first of all, what is keeping them stuck? What are they doing? Are they monitoring what they're doing? Are they busy fools? Because that's something that as entrepreneurs we can be. Sometimes we can get to the end of the day and think, I've been so busy today, but I don't know what on earth I've done. What monitor their time, do a 15-minute by 15-minute log of what they're doing. And then at the end of the day, go through it with two highlighters. Green for yes, this was productive, this is a money making activity, or another color for it's not. So I always say this to any of my mentees who are like, they procrastinate because a lot of entrepreneurs procrastinate because the ultimate thing is we're scared of this success. because
Yes.
it's new and we're scared of it.
We've got to change. That's
Yeah.
what it's what people are scared of. They're scared of the unknown, so they stick to what feels comfortable.
And we're never going to grow if we're in this little comfort zone. We've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So I would say monitor what you're doing. If what you're doing day to day is not a money making activity, it's just noise. You've got to filter the noise from the growth. So what are they doing? What is causing them to be stuck? They need to have a really good hard look at it. If they're faffing around on, I've just got to do this other course and then I'll be ready, or I'm just going to watch this YouTube video and then I'll be ready, I'll be prepared. No, just get out and bloody do it. You need to get over yourself. But I would also say seek help. Go and speak to somebody who is already doing what you want to do. And the majority of decent entrepreneurs who are really at the top of their game will not see you as competition. They will want to help you or maybe even collaborate with you, because people up here aren't competing. People
No,
up
they
here are
really
like, let's help each other all make money. So I would say seek advice and be coachable. You can't do it all on your own. You have to be coachable, invest in a mentor or a coach, or invest in yourself.
Yes,
The time to because sometimes we can, especially if you're a solopreneur, you've got nobody else from the outside looking in.
100%.
So filter the noise from the growth, stop watching those YouTube videos, stop purchasing another course, seek some help, get over yourself,
Yeah.
get yourself unstuck. What
Um,
if what you're doing is not going to make you money? Stop doing it. It's as simple as
Really
that.
good advice.
Yeah.
So, from an accountancy point of view, just because we're to get back to money,
Yeah.
like, what would you advise? What's the numbers that you need to track in your business to make sure that you're going in the right direction?
Cash flow. Cash flow all of the time. We have obviously regular cash flow from investments and from property. That is, it's not all passive, I have to say. Property is probably 90% passive. It depends on your strategy, but track your cash flow. Track absolutely everything that you spend as well, because you just don't know where your accountant's going to be able to do something really savvy for you. So track everything that you spend. I use QuickBooks and Zero for different businesses.
Okay.
So my account has access to that. But yeah, tracking your cash flow, but also keep an eye on your bigger, I would say have bigger money goals as well, and keep an eye on them. Like, how are you working towards them? Where is that bigger money going to be coming from? Because everyone says like cash flow is king. That's, yeah, okay, but what if I want to invest in something bigger and juicier? What if I want to I don't know, start stocks or shares or whatever? I mean, I don't know enough about that, but you're going to need a little chunk of capital. So work on, I would say, for every business owner, not just property, work on a mixture of cash flow and capital. So where are you getting your regular income that's going to pay your bills, keep you above water, pay for your holidays or whatever, but where are you getting the big chunks? Because it's the big chunks that give us more power and freedom to do more of what we want to do. Tracy, I can't remember what the question was.
I love that.
I was talking, I was like, but what was the question?
I just want to know what numbers you track in your business, just
Cash
because,
flow.
like,
Yeah,
cash
that's it,
flow.
cash flow. And I tell you what, I do track, which not everybody does. And it really, the amount of people I speak to who don't track this mileage. Like, there's
Really?
an, oh my, track your mileage, because you can offset that. It's so,
You
like,
can.
honestly, I've got this app called, it's QuickBooks does it, but I've not set it up. I've got an app called Mile IQ. I've got
Okay.
the free version, and it just runs on your phone in the background. So tracking mileage, well, okay, I can't track it when I'm going to Asda for my food shop, but what's to say I'm not going to Asda and in that food shop I'm buying a bottle of champagne for one of my investors? Which is completely legitimate. We've got investors that we use, and therefore, they get a lot of gifts. Some of them get some
There's
gifts.
two ways to put your expenses through as a car, but that's an accountant's
Yeah, yeah,
just had talk to your accountant, but you can
yeah.
definitely track your mileage.
You
You
can
can
track
track it with
it.
your bike everywhere as well, by the way. Different price, but if you're on a bike, you can
Ah,
still track your mileage.
but how do they know
So
you're on a bike?
you
Just saying.
tell them. They're open. We're adults. We're allowed to put your
Yeah,
mileage through.
yeah,
So, right, thank you. Can you just tell? I mean, you just talked about your book before, so can you tell everybody a bit about your book and
yeah.
if anyone's interested in getting into investing in properties so that they can make themselves more financially independent, What piece of advice would you be for anybody setting off? So those two questions, please.
Sorry. So, what advice would I give someone if they wanted to be more financially independent?
Yeah, if they were looking into investing, what piece of advice could you give them if they wanted to start?
I would say look into property to begin with. I mean, I know there are other things you can invest in. I know that you can invest in stock shares. I know some people do crypto. We've dabbled in that as well. But one thing I like about property is that if you do it right, even if there's like this massive crash that they were expecting 5 years ago and it still really hasn't happened, if you buy it right, that property is always going to increase in value. And not only that, you're gonna, if you can, when I say buy right, buy it below market value to add the value, whether that's a distressed property or what I teach is a distressed transaction. So
Okay.
it doesn't always have to be a smelly house that's got damp structural problems falling down, even though they're my favorite ones. It can be what I would call a distressed transaction. So you're getting it below market value with some sort of other issue there that gives you leverage for your purchase price.
Yep.
And then you have the ability to not only add value, but then you keep it for a period of time and you've got the time that adds the value as well. So you've got plenty of buffer. You've bought below market value, you've got value to add, and you're going to keep it for a period of time. I wouldn't advise anybody if they want to get into this for, real investment to buy at asking price. You definitely don't want to be buying at market value. You want to be buying below market value and to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. Otherwise, when you sell it, when it comes to like capital gains, tax, things like that, it won't even be worth it. So you need a good buffer. But I would say that property, people are always going to what, and when I say property, I'm not talking commercial developments, I'm not talking land developments or anything like that. I'm talking bread and butter houses. You're never going to be out of a job. People always need houses to live in. And let's face it, the government aren't coming along and buying those properties and spending 30, 40K on them like we are, and then putting them back into circulation. It's not worth their while.
Right.
So you're always going, because the government, it's not worth their while. They make too much money out of investors. Because think about all the people that we have to pay.
Yeah.
You know,
And the
we
tax that
pay
you have to pay
everybody.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, tax and all the trades that we pay, legals, finance, surveyors, we pay bloody everybody before we pay our investors before we pay ourselves. So you're never going to be out of a job. So I think property is safe. But what I would advise actually, before even thinking about that, learn how money can work for you. So a couple of books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, like your bread and butter, The Psychology of Money.
Brilliant book.
The Richest Man in Babylon. Start reading about money mindset. Start reading about investments, how money can work for you. Start learning how, when you invest money, it makes money for you. And learning about that and the way money works in the world is so important before you even start to think about investments of any kind. But property, you can't go wrong. You
Wow.
you can't.
Tell me a bit more about your book.
So we've got a book out called Women in Property,
Yeah.
volume one. It came out last December, and it is 12 chapters. And it was curated by me and my publisher called Neil Thornton from Barn Thorn Publishing. He approached me and said, did I want to be involved? I said, I'll do you one better. I want to get involved in all of the volumes and I'll find the women and I'll help you curate it because I was an English teacher. So, you know,
Yes.
so yeah, we've got 12 chapters and each one is tells a different story of a different woman in property. And I'm in the first chapter, it's alphabetical. And we've nearly finished with volume 2. That should be in circulation in September. Volume 3 coming out for Christmas. And we're just going to continue releasing the stories. But from that, it's literally just called Women in Property. But from that, we are starting a magazine subscription as well. Me and a friend of mine, Karen, who's in the first chapter, we're starting a Women in Property magazine, digital subscription magazine, as like a follow-on from the books, really. So that's exciting. And yeah, we've got a couple of other books coming out as well. Women in Business. We'll be starting that project, which is similar to the Women in Property. And I'm doing one for women with ADHD as well. Very similar setup. Late diagnosis, and every chapter will be a different woman's story. So yeah, so starting a copy company, basically, like a publishing company by the looks of it. So yeah,
Because
so
the
it's
thing you are,
great.
oh yeah, I can't ever see you slowing down if I'm totally honest. You're
Oh
so
no.
inspiring. So if somebody wants to get hold of you, Steph, where can they get hold of you, please? I will put
Very
it in the details, but
Yeah, very simply at Steph the Property Teacher on Instagram. Or I've got a website, property-school.com. But at Steph the Property Teacher is the best place to find me on all social media platforms.
perfect. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time
thanks for
today.
having me.
I've really
Oh, thank you
loved
so much.
listening to your stories even more. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks. I will see you all next time. Thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate it, and it shows that you are serious about moving your business forward. I want to share something with you. When I was little, I watched my mum skip meals so my brother and I could eat because she didn't have enough money to feed us all. That pain changed everything. I promised myself I would never need to rely on anyone else financially. I worked relentlessly towards financial independence. Even as a young parent of 19, I still worked. And once I achieved financial independence, I became passionate that everyone deserves the same. But here's what I've discovered. Successful business owners can feel financially trapped just in a different way. And that's why I created the Money Metrics Academy to help you understand your essential business numbers in under an hour a week. No jargon, no overwhelm, just the clarity you need for true financial independence. Why not join the free entry-level membership and see how the community can help you? Let's get unstuck together.